Live streaming is on.
In full stereo.
Okay, so you were having me read, right?
Yeah, I just sent you some of my thoughts and so.
Okay, so number one, create guilds where people feel like they're really getting something out of it. Right, absolutely fundamental. I would agree that is number one. If we don't have that, then we have nothing, because you can't force people to do anything.
Yeah.
Another ultra important discussion topic, number two, what is Noisebridge currently bottlenecked on? It's not skill, knowledge, and expertise. It's not people, power. It's not even money, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Probably number one, ambition, which can be fixed by leading by example in an important project. Number two, vision, which can be fixed with an ambitious project. And number three, executive functioning. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I don't know about the ordering, but like...
Yeah, I didn't mean that in rank order. I was just trying to number them. But and then I added at the end, kind of below that list, that, the upshot there is that, guilds are, helping with the executive functioning. Therefore, that's about the most important thing that could possibly happen to Noisebridge in terms of its development,
Right.
which I think is, important. If we realized that we were like helping Noisebridge in ways that it didn't really need to be kind of amplified, oh, what if we like had more classes to add more expertise? Well, there's plenty of expertise sitting around. There's like world-class expertise. I mean, we're like elite hackers that the people all over the world think are super cool, and they should. But anyway, but doing more with that would be good, I think. But anyway, we're not bottlenecked on that.
Right. We used to talk a little bit about doing Great Pyramids projects. So there's a bunch of ideas that we've had over the years, and some of them we've done and some we haven't, like making those large bookshelves on the Golden Spiral was kind of a Great Pyramids project. Like the Great Pyramids are something where you absolutely need several people in the community to come together to do it. And like Flash and Tashin was another great example. Probably even a better example, because it's more recognizable and more like distinctive. There are things that are meant to last. They're monuments. Yeah, those types of things that really bring Noisebridge together.
I like to focus on longevity, which, especially thinking about, Noisebridge. I mean, it's been around for, 11 years or whatever, or 12 years. Or 12 and a half. I mean, it's been a little while now, but
depends on how you count.
Anyway, But anyway, but I like the longevity part, not just the ambition part. I hadn't thought about that so much. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a group and a podcast called Future Fossils. I don't know if you've encountered that, but the host Michael Garfield encourages people to think of themselves as ancestors. Yeah, so don't think of what you're doing for yourself, but think of how your descendants will think of you.
I see.
That's not a complete explication of why he calls it Future Fossils and why he says that, but like it's part of it,
Right.
So okay, so what's that?
No, I was just saying that's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, so let's move on. 3, create some kind of meta guild project showcase directory, but with a cooler name where guilds can show off their projects. Yeah.
And get some kind of almost official recognition. You know what I mean? There should be like if everyone has one go-to spot, not just for within Noisebridge, but it's like people are thinking about stopping by or what's Noisebridge working on. I mean,
right.
Like it's very hard to figure that out, even if you're physically in Noisebridge a lot, because there's a lot going on and there's no centralizing, there's stuff all over the wiki, but that's not even people's projects. That's just kind of documentation.
Totally. One of the concepts that comes to mind is the Situationists International version, like the concept of the psychogeographic map. Yeah, oh, definitely. Like Situationists International is probably one of the foundational cultural documents They have a manifesto. This is from like, I forget, 50s or 60s.
Mm.
Their influence on things like Burning Man is not to be underestimated. And also Burning Man's influence on the creation of Noisebridge, not to be underestimated. But anyway, the concept of a psychogeographic map it's a bit like why Pokemon is a fun game. Because it transforms, it's an augmented reality kind of system, right? You create an overlay onto something that is, like the map of the city as you pick it up or as you approach it at a transit stop or something like that, and it's like covered in bus routes. And you understand the city through the lens of buses, like when you look at these bus routes. If you are playing Pokemon, you understand the city through the lens of where I can find a high-powered Pokemon or where I can get into a battle, right? And you start to map out your trajectories or like your routines or whatever based on that. So Noisebridge, I think we could start considering the idea of creating these augmented reality overlays, and they don't even have to be high tech. They can merely be like just sketches of Noisebridge through the lens of the sewing group, or through the lens of I don't know, pick your group or something like that. Like how would Noah, like if you were looking at Noisebridge through Noah's eyes, what would that Noisebridge look like?
That's cool. And then you could also, well, yeah, I guess you already said this, but the different layers, kind of per lens. Okay, anyway, that's interesting.
Because the thing about Noisebridge is that it's constantly changing. And so any map of Noisebridge is bound to become obsolete within a couple of weeks sometimes. Sometimes, like when I haven't been to Noisebridge in, let's say, a month or something like that, and I come back and basically the first thing that I do is I take an inventory, right? Like, wow, that's new, or like, what happened to that thing? And then like, it's interesting to me how these things come and go. But if you try to create some kind of like permanent document about where, that the project's in Noisebridge, I think it's doomed to failure. And I wonder if there's some other way that is much more accommodating to the dynamicism of Noisebridge, that also leverages guilds, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure. And just to clarify, so you think like things are too scattered or too dynamic, or too
not necessarily scattered, but like, okay, so like let's say you had some like list of projects that you want people to know about with regards to Noisebridge. In one sense, it's fine that this is a static document, like for the purposes of like showing to Maker Faire or something. Like, here's a list of things that Noisebridge has made over the years. That's fine. That's one type of document. But if you wanted to try to invite people to experience Noisebridge and to gain a full appreciation for what's there now, like what are people doing right now, that should be appreciated, like should be seen for what it is. The thing that I think about most when I'm saying these words is people giving tours and how different people create different tours for people.
Those are like, different lenses. Yeah.
Ryan's tour is not my tour at all. So yeah, I don't know, just something to think about that might actually be a little too, it feels too high concept at the moment for to take forward steps on, but something that I don't want to necessarily lose sight of.
Sure. No, that sounds cool. And I want to mention on that note that, of everyone at Noisebridge, it seems like the one person who's the most consistently heading in the same direction and working on the same thing or the same kind of thing is probably Alex Peak.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
And of course, I bring him up in this context because he would be the guy to make some kind of VR or AR kind of overlay or level. I mean, he already did a 3D scan of Noisebridge and has it in whatever the file format is. So
yeah,
that's super interesting, because you could imagine putting on almost like virtual goggles and walking around a virtual Noisebridge. Like, here's how
totally.
Naomi sees. Here's the Naomi lens that I have
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And it could be like physical glasses that are like your unique color or something. It could be pretty.
Oh, that would
pretty
be
cool.
really cool. Yeah. I like that idea.
Not rose-colored glasses, Naomi-colored glasses.
Right. Yeah. Mine
Awesome.
are not tremendously rose-colored. Anyway, okay, so to finish up number 3, you've got I'd like for this to be presented in a more elevated way than just a forum thread thoughts. Yeah. I think just to cap off your item number 3 here, I do think that it is a perennial problem of Noisebridges that we like lose track of what's been done. In the simple case of just like having basically Noisebridge having a resume or a portfolio is just something that we should be doing. It's not even high tech. It's just a thing.
Totally. I mean, there's it's too bad Scotty's gone, but I mean, there's people who are, who shoot a bunch of video, and that's part of what they do. I mean, who isn't a content creator now? I mean, we're creating content literally right now.
Right.
Everyone has a smartphone. It makes me think that, we could, ask someone. Hey, multitasking. That there's like, maybe a couple people that could be, that like enjoy, doing mini interviews, asking people, hey, you just, I heard you just tell this person about this cool thing that you're doing. You want to like briefly record it, on video, and we can kind of add it to the YouTube Noisebridge or the Noisebridge YouTube channel, or
right.
It's like, how is there not, more of a record? And I feel like the incentives there are good enough in terms of, people want to, talk about the cool thing that they just did. There's not a whole lot of, braggarts or whatever at Noisebridge, but it's still cool. And if prompted, I think a bunch of people would do it. That sounds like the kind of thing where we could just throw a, if we had, if we create a little bit more of a structure of a plan, maybe, and then like, hey guys, here's this cool thing that we want to do, and here's this skill that we need, or something like that. Does someone want to, contribute to the, I don't know, monthly newsletter sounds kind of boring maybe, but we can come up with a cool name, or again, there's got to be someone around that enjoys shooting video, and it's not like a separate job for them. You know what I mean? It's like they do it all the time.
Yeah, we have to poke around for the right person on that one. Certainly, we have had those people around. It's not something that we necessarily can rely on having around. So,
I see.
Yeah, like part of the thing, like whenever we talk about these sorts of aspects, where it would be really nice if we had, like we should keep a page updated, right? Or like we should, have this like far-ranging project that requires weekly attentiveness or maintenance or even monthly maintenance. It just becomes like you have never seen Noisebridge at its best, and you're about to. Honestly, you're about to see Noisebridge at its most exuberant and during this move. And
because external forces require everyone to come together.
No, because it's new. Because nobody likes refactoring. Because people are going to realize just what an opportunity it is to start Noisebridge over from scratch. And when they start getting into it and they start realizing, like, oh shit, I don't actually have to pay attention to anyone's previous decisions. I can just build this from the ground up. This is where Noisebridge is going to shine. And this is why I'm actually looking forward to the move, and I'm really not sad about it at all. I'm not sad about leaving our previous space, even though it's like full of coolness and history, right? Like we've got pictures. It's fine. We'll make new stuff. Like what I'm looking forward to is seeing people, we're hackers, man. Like we build things from the ground up, and it's much more fun. Like we love prototyping and playing around with shit. Like,
but not maintaining systems.
Maintaining systems is like, do if we have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so any type of system that we design where it requires hackers to act in a maintenance oriented way is like, there are a few of us around who are okay with it. Like, but it's more like we're okay with it. We're not a culture of maintainers, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not a strength of of Noisebridge in terms of its the people's proclivities.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be foolish to try to design for a culture that has more in common with IBM than a tiny startup. Like we may have a whole lot of people, but our culture is more thematically aligned with a tiny startup than anything else, right?
Yeah, and even way more ephemeral in terms of the people and the
Oh yeah, and then you also can't keep anybody around, so. Right. Okay. Well, I hope that we can keep people around, because I hope that guilds actually keep people more engaged. Let's see.
Yep. And even if it didn't, I mean, just the more efficient communication. Like if we do have this, it's kind of this super organism that can have cells die and new things, new ones are grown, but the fundamentals are there, not just the fundamentals that have been there for a while, but the the communication pathways and the much more efficient like you said, how do you find the password. It is exciting that could persist and is robust against the kinds of entropy that you're talking about. I think that's an important idea that may end up leading to the nixing of something further down on the list that it could be done. But keep going, please.
Yeah, let's keep going. I like that you wrote these out. I think this is actually a perfect second hour activity. Okay, so 4, our experiment could be the qualitative expertise signaling via badges. Right. So we were talking about how quantitative estimations of people or signaling of people might be a little bit icky, although I'm not going to rule it out. Like I'm open to arguments. But like qualitative expertise, like Boy Scout, Girl Scout badges kind of thing, might be more enjoyable to people and might actually give people more meaningful information about each other, right?
Yeah. Find like-minded people. I mean, that's like a real valuable thing,
Right. Or find people that have the expertise that you wish you had.
Yeah, well said.
Cool. So number 5, or our experiment could be augmenting rack guild into an enter hack type experiment where we run infrastructure for the people at 1 cent per person per month. Lots of possibility here.
Like the economics. So the cloud giants keep getting more and more profitable because of Moore's law, even though it's slowing down. There's still these economies of scale that are incredible. But the thing that's really exciting that is enabled is that for a few dollars a month. I now have had a few thousand people use LeapChat. And it's like, $3 a month server, encrypted Slack in the browser, basically ephemeral messaging. Because the messages disappear after 6 months, I don't have exponential costs. And it's a matter of RAM and like how many people are simultaneously connected, which can be like hundreds or thousands of people for like, a few bucks a month. It's only like a couple megs or whatever RAM per, max per WebSocket connection,
Right.
So like thinking of what Noisebridge could do with that dynamic, and I have set, there's a couple things that I mentioned there. It's so cheap to do it, so it's like the idea of having almost like a public cloud, but that people could actually trust. And then the quasi economics of like, you have like 4 very part-time people that we already have, kind of keeping an eye on, on the infrastructure. And then, if people want like a calendar that's not hosted by Google, for example, I have a self-hosted calendar, but for the same amount of effort, I could host the same calendar software for, 500 people. And it's just, it's the same server, it's the same process that's running. And if we have a beefy enough server, then we're not, bottlenecked on those resources, and then a bunch of people could donate $3 a month, and then they have, you know, a hosted calendar. I mean, there's Minio now, so we could have like S3 compatible storage that we run for like the whole hacker community to store our encrypted backups. Again, it costs basically nothing. We, you know, and then I mean, I did the math for, you know, my you know, company for Effective AF, and it's like, because I'm running really efficient stuff on the server, it's like Go and Postgres and this one little super efficient Haskell thing. I mean, it's like pennies per person per month. You know, even for something that's like real time and there's a persistent connection and stuff. So anyway, you know, so the economics of how cheap it is to do stuff, and then it can be ultra cheap, especially if it doesn't need to be profitable. And if it were, you know, volunteering, and there's, you know, I mean, there could be 8 people that are doing, you know, a couple hours a week, and, you know, everyone's on, you know, on call in the sense that everyone's kind of notified at once, or maybe there's kind of an emphasis, hey, if you're, you know, kind of one of the top 2 people, please check. You know, now maybe that falls too much into the maintenance category. But anyway, it seems like there's a pretty amazing combination of the economics of it, the expertise. We have spare server capacity. We could have 1,000 people putting in $3 a month, you know, and like host a matrix server. We could have, you know, like each hacker space could be tasked with the, you know, running a node of like, you know, some of these federated systems. And there could be a leaderboard of uptime. So that's actually pride that have the Noisebridge server not have way worse uptime than like, you know, ones in Germany and New York and stuff. You know, I think, anyway, that seems to combine a bunch of positive aspects.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like there's a totally separate, not separate, but there's its own meeting, which is more along the lines of like probably like Metaguild plus rack or something like that, where it's you know, the development of such a system and so on and so forth. Because there's a lot of like implementation details there.
For sure.
And yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Looking ahead, let's both read more about Richard Bartlett's idea of a micro solidarity unit, tribe, whatever they're called. He has a lot of experience. Micro solidarity. Oh yeah, right. You sent me that link.
Yep.
Yeah, that was actually really cool. I really like that they include a page called cults, how to protect yourself from starting and joining a cult. I think it's actually a pretty important.
Yeah, that's going to be a failure mode. That's going to be a failure mode of that kind of thing that he's talking about.
Right. Yeah. Because there's, I mean, people who are good at you know, operating these sort of like intentionally dense social systems are also the types of people who either accidentally or on purpose end up starting a cult. And so it's actually good. Good to have gathering invite. Okay. Yeah. I was just looking at this page, and is there anything that you wanted to call out about micro solidarity?
Not really. Just what I understand about it so far, the concept overlaps with some stuff you were talking about, as far as you mentioned, you know, like some of the Plan B stuff, going back to basics, start with a very small group.
Game B.
Oh, Game B. Oh, Plan. Oh, sorry. Oh, man.
Plan B is the birth control, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. So we have... so there's Plan 9
right.
and...
Plan B
and Game B.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's funny. Game B. And there was like one other little. I can read it. So yeah, that was the full list, and I mentioned, you know, when it comes to the upshot of the, you know, what is Noisebridge currently bottlenecked on? Executive functioning be a key part of that.
Oh, right.
Guilds help with that. I sort of mentioned that a few minutes ago. Therefore, it's one of the most important things that could be added to Noisebridge right now. And then some more stuff about like the federated networks. Like, normal people don't feel like there's digital infrastructure that they can trust, and that's like a giant problem, that it seems like Noisebridge could solve for like a large number of people, starting with our friends or whatever. I mean, there's I mean, it could be people in San Francisco, it could be like these local things, and we encourage other hacker spaces to support their local communities in that way, not just people physically coming in, hey, my computer's broken, but again, it's like a trusted, people's cloud, public cloud kind of thing.
Sure.
So anyway.
Yeah.
Just to reemphasize some other
totally. I have to say that like on the sort of like spectrum of things that we're talking about in terms of the work, I'm much more passionate about the the sort of developing intentional culture that is meat space oriented, and not against the software, sort of like solving these interconnection problems using software, but less passionate about doing it.
Okay.
Mostly because I feel like the possibility space is there's a lot of things you can try in in real life space, and iterate on very, very quickly. And you can iterate very, very quickly with software if you know what you're designing, but when you need people to actually try your software in order to figure out whether it works or not, it's actually more work.
Oh yeah, getting traction is a huge pain, and you can refactor a group of humans much it's like verbally reprogramming the group very easily, right?
That's it. That's exactly right. Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah. So if you find me sort of like drifting off a little bit when it comes to doing, and then we could make software do this, that, and the other thing.
I do, but that's okay.
Yeah. But I think that other people would be excited about that. And yeah, I guess it's just a disclaimer. Like, if you and I are reliant upon me being excited about building software, this is gonna fall flat.
Okay, makes sense. No, that's good. I mean, we're talking about thinking about the not just strengths and weaknesses, but interests and and whatnot. But it's interesting you mentioned that about the iteration speed, because I care about that a lot in terms of how can we really get somewhere quickly, and if the iteration cycles are short and we can move fast and stuff,
right?
Then that's super interesting. But I see the appeal of what you're saying, where hey everyone, let's try this social norm this week, and it's like instantly you're not fighting shitty JavaScript dependency trees,
right?
And
then convincing people like no, it's better now, right? It's like, try it again. Yeah. So yeah, again, like totally pro good software. Just
no, it's fine. It's like you and I, like the stuff that we do / that the workshop does. It doesn't have to be everything. That's fine. We each have different groups for different things, and I can think about what it would take for certain or whether there's a software thing that could complement the social stuff, like showing off like the badges, and there's stuff like that could be not everything that I touch needs to be software mediated, but I
do think that badges, it would be great if there was a software, like even if it was just like the most basic Flask app.
I mean, something that I was thinking of as soon as you mentioned the badges in general, I thought, well, I mean, can we do like a Reddit Flare-esque thing in Slack? I think we can in Discuss, right? Can't we have like certain icons like show up next to someone's username? I know you could do that. Like the admins have a shield next to them.
Oh, right.
There's other like roles that could each have their own little icon and have that actually, you're a programmer, you're a sewer, and like have like I mean, Lady Red even made the heraldry
Right.
like icons or whatever they're called,
Right.
you know. So if those were like icons and those are almost roles people were playing, like in Discuss, and maybe encourage people to add them to their Slack status or something like that.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some kind of low hanging fruit there, right?
Totally. All right. This second, how about this? James knows the ins and outs of Discuss and is trying to integrate all kinds of stuff with everything else, even though I don't think it makes sense, but it's still cool.
Oh my gosh, I just realized I actually want to use this.
Hey.
Wait, yes, because James was contacting me. He's like, why is the Noisebridge Philosophy Guild like why does it have a Facebook group? And I'm like, look, it was not a popular there was no way to please everybody, and I wanted to make sure that people who were not already participating in Noisebridge could follow along because they liked the sort of meta modern principles of the thing and wanted to stay engaged, right?
Yep.
So here's what I'm thinking, though, is that we can start out using the Philosophy Guild. We can start out by using, if we can figure out a way to do the badges and stuff, like the Philosophy Guild should totally be looking at things like, did you learn spiral dynamics? Like that would be like, you have like a little spiral pin.
Wow, that's cool. And then people get instant gratification. It's not like, do you know how to code? And it takes 2 years to earn that, badge. But right. I mean, that's cool. I didn't think of them being like pretty like smaller things. It's more like a task. It's a milestone. It's not like a giant skill.
Right, exactly, right. And so we could use that as a testing ground that we could very, very test and like quickly test and iterate and see if the people, enjoy that.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there could be, I know one random idea. I guess this is not a good idea, but
no bad ideas.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Only good and mediocre. But I know, I'm curious what you think. I mean, exclusivity is not like a big, thing at Noisebridge, but even in the Discuss forums right now, it's like, hey, if you're an admin, there's this forum, or if you have like a certain trust level, if you're level 3, then only you can view this chat room. It could be kind of cool to be like, hey, do you want to join this really cool, or you think it would turn into cults? Is it tribes? Uh-oh.
Oh no, I mean, it's already we've already have the experience behind us of like people breaking the trust of these private chat rooms that we've set up in Slack.
Breaking the trust?
Yeah, well,
the stuff that's supposed to be private, they make public. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Okay. Let me fully express my thought. Like, we already have gone through at least a couple of cycles of people declaring that like these private cabals more or less are immoral or
So right after you dropped off like the previous, but you purposely disconnected like the previous time, something I like for like 30 seconds I spoke to the camera and the thing I said was something about like, oh yeah, the one thing that Rando and I were talking about a couple years ago was that Slack is he's like, Slack turns Noisebridge into a private clubhouse. And I was like, wow, that's such a good critique. So maybe I just accidentally reintroduced that. But I mean, the bulk of stuff could be public, but there could be, I don't know.
Sorry, I can't stop rolling my eyes about Rando.
Oh yeah. But for everyone watching this, like it's strange. It's super misleading for me to be only mentioning my thoughts on Rando that are super positive. But anyway, it's very interesting that I'm just giving him credit though.
Well, I'm also like kind of going because there's that dude who showed up on Slack like a month or 2 ago or whatever from Santa Fe and has never been to Noisebridge and never intends to go to Noisebridge. The
guy with very strong opinions about how the social norms should work.
Yeah. Right.
Who bashed you? That guy. Yeah.
Right. He's like, yes, I can tell Naomi's a terrible person. She's got behavioral problems. because I know, because I'm a father and a teacher. I'm just like, you've never met me and you don't know anything about Noisebridge. Like, what are you? Okay. Anyway,
yeah. He said dumb stuff. I was proud to push back against a bunch of it. So.
yeah, no,
and then
it's just
sorry, go ahead.
with me, and that's sort of like the let's everything is true. Nothing. Nobody has expertise kind of realm.
That's the big problem. How is that tied to like the private cabal problem?
No, it's antithetical to what Rando said. Like the idea that Noisebridge having a Slack turns Noisebridge into a private club is.
Oh, you're saying it's maybe too open even as is?
Yeah. No, I mean anybody can get on Slack. Like I don't. It doesn't strike me as.
Yeah. Okay. So I see what you mean. There's still part of like the culture not being public. You know, like if like the public channels were public and it was more like, you know, IRC logs, then I think that would be more, what you're saying would be more true.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we've had some weird rules in the past that are still kind of in place where it's like super ambiguous about what it takes to get into Slack, and you got to be around a while, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all of these things have a context. Is the other thing. Like, there's you can't think of Noisebridge or the Slack, the people on Slack as this like. You have to think in 4 dimensions, really. Like, not just what are the ethics that we have for Slack, like as if that they'll never change. Like, they have to change with the times, and they have to change with how many people are on Slack, and they have to change and grow with like how many people are actively using Slack, and what are we using Slack for. So we now have Discuss, which is kind of the way that we've decided to put ourselves back into the public
Sphere.
The public sphere. Exactly. Anyway, earlier you were talking about like, we could have like, you know, this is a level 3 discussion. You know, you have to earn this trust.
Probably a terrible idea.
Probably, because we've already had situations where people have created private conversations in Slack, in private channels, to discuss things that are of a fairly sensitive nature, like the thing that is most like the exemplar situation of that particular thing is when Jyoti was around. I remember do you remember Jyoti?
I don't know if I was around when he was.
She was
in the last 3.5 years.
What?
Was it in the last 3.5 years?
Yeah. This was on at the earliest moments when Lizzie was around. So Lizzie came around right about the same time frame that Jyoti was basically flaming out. So Jyoti had been there for a year previous, and Jyoti, I hate like spouting like psychiatry terms without actually knowing for sure what's going on with this person. But numerous people have commented to me that Jyoti seems like a person with borderline personality disorder. It's like if you interact with Jyoti, she needs to put you firmly into the camp of you're either an ally or an enemy. And Jyoti experienced something traumatic that I believe happened with a person who didn't really come around Noisebridge all that much, but she started using Noisebridge as her safe space, more or less, so that she could hole up and do something about this person. Well, this person pretty much never came to Noisebridge, but she wanted to get him banned from Noisebridge so that she could feel safe at Noisebridge. And it so happened that I used to date that person, so I actually knew him personally. I knew her personally, and I wanted to help. And so we formed this private chat for a little while to go like, okay, well, here, what is she saying? Like, what is Jyoti saying? And essentially, people who she had tried to establish for herself a safe space in various different places, and probably every single time that community would more or less tell her she was not welcome anymore because she, again, I actually believe something traumatic happened to her in this relationship, like in terms of like, sexually non-consented like activity. But she would kind of make up stories about networks of people. And then when people would discover that like, no, actually, like that actually never happened, why would you say that sort of thing? Then they would flip in her categorization from ally to enemy. And then, and then she was off telling lies about those sorts of people until she had basically just like burned every single bridge she possibly had. So
Wow.
she came to Noisebridge and she was doing that again. And I was gathering stories from all these previous communities that she'd burned. And just going and just like, my eyes going wider and wider, my jaw going like through the floor, like for a couple of weeks at a time. And I'm relaying this information into this private chat. So Lizzie comes into the picture and Lizzie meets Jyoti in the space, probably crying or something. And Lizzie wants to take the role of the rescuer. And she comes into that, she gets invited into the private chat that we're having. And she reads all this like really mean stuff about Jyoti, about how like Jyoti is, lying about X, Y, and Z. And like, it's, it's really unfortunate because she's hurting, but like we can't support her. Right. So Lizzie takes that information and gives it to Jyoti.
Wow.
Yeah. No, this is the shit that Lizzie like had, like, this is her pattern of activity. Right.
I didn't know about that one. I knew about the various other things.
Because no one even gets that far. Right. Yeah. Like this is why I keep telling you, like, kindly, the identity politics stuff isn't even the worst of it. Right. That's just her bad everyday behavior. Right. Like the deeper thing that you can really point at is the fact that she just kind of like stomped her way through all these different sort of like need for trust kind of situations. And
violated trust boundaries, violated privacy. Exactly. And then I can see how she could use that for political purposes, right? Like, here she is, saving the, rape victim or
exactly.
Whatever,
And so that information, she took the, just the mere notion that we were having a private conversation where, and she started introducing, like, basically feeding this back to her allies to say that, like, the old Noisebridge was having secret conversations to keep everybody else down.
That was part of the old Noisebridge narrative? Wow, I had no idea.
Right. So, as you might imagine at this point, I am hesitant to recommend that people have, like, explicitly private conversations that feel as though they have some extra authority or like some extra privilege attached.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's helpful context too. Just to double check that, you think, like, even in the case of, like, I don't know, all the Python programmers congregate in here, I guess it wouldn't have to be exclusive though. If people wanted to hang out, they could still just do it, and then you could still have the structure of, different chat rooms or different forums or different whatever. I guess we already kind of do for the different guilds, but you wouldn't have to have the private aspect.
I don't know. This might just be an implementation detail, and also I wonder if it's better left up to guilds. Like, if they want to experiment with the concept of having like level based privilege conversations, fine.
Good point.
Right.
Good point.
Anyway,
that sounds smart. Yeah, I mean that's a great example of like experiment that someone should be able to duocratically do within their own guild, and they don't need meta guild. They don't need anyone else's permission or whatever.
Nope.
But what was the broader context in which I mentioned?
So we were just looking at your number 6, like Richard Bartlett's idea of micro solidarity unit / tribe / whatever they're called.
Yeah. there's that, and then, by the way, I sent James a message a few minutes ago saying, "Hey James, can we add heraldry icons per user role and have those icons show up next to each discuss user's icon?"
Yeah.
Next to each user's username. Okay, I was more focused on what you were saying than typing that sentence out. It's barely grammatical.
Don't worry about it.
But he'll know what I mean, and that'll be yeah. I'm curious to see what that could look like. But yeah, I mean, I guess a broader context is like what can we rapidly prototype inside Discuss maybe to like structure some guild stuff or have some of these
right.
Signs, badges, like I guess perks. And I was thinking, oh, what if there's an exclusive thing? So yeah, we can mostly not particularly run with that. I think that you convinced me that makes sense. But yeah, like what else do you think we could offer or to make things appealing?
What do we think we could offer to make things appealing to people to join?
Sorry, yeah, to join guilds, to create a guild. I forget how you phrased it, but like I said here, I think your point about creating guilds basically creating guilds in such a way where people feel like they're really getting something out of it. That's
right.
That's fundamental. I'm just thinking of what. Like what are the kind of, I don't know, social carrots that could be provided?
Well, are you familiar with Daniel Pink?
Thinking Fast and Slow?
No, that's Daniel Kahneman.
Oh, Kahneman. Yeah.
Daniel Pink is motive. That's what is he called? Drive. DRIVE. Drive.
I've seen that book.
Yeah, it's a quick read. He's not a very dense writer. He just kind of tells you, here are my thoughts. Here are some studies. Now you do it. Go forth and conquer. Anyway, so he's very he's got very dense cookies in his books that That's you cool. Can eat in a couple of bites. So autonomy, mastery, and what's the other one? I'm gonna have to look this up. Why do I always forget this? Drive.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like the those are the two that I usually think of as well.
Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Right. So I don't know. Pretty soon I want to drop off because I promised Calvin that I would wake up earlier tomorrow. I've been pretty
hacker schedule.
Yeah, naturally fall into it.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So, but I think we covered a lot of good foundational stuff. I think that we have an action step, maybe a couple of them. If we can figure out what is the technologically speaking, the lowest hanging fruit for making some kind of badge system. The three people we need to include right now are Mark and James and Marco.
Okay. Oh yeah, because they care about and what about maybe Ryan? It's basically like the guilds people.
Yeah, I mean, so I think.
I mean, you tell me. I mean, if it's not Ryan, then that's fine. I know you mentioned before in the context of guilds, but.
Yeah, for sure. No, the reason I mentioned Ryan is because he wants to. As of at least last month, I think he really wanted to be managing the move. And that's why I thought it might be worth including him in conversations about how can we encourage people who are getting into these groups anyway to starting to incorporate some of the I don't know, maybe some structural thinking around how to be a guild. I don't know. I'm tailing off here because
Yep, that's okay.
It actually requires a lot more thought. Does it even make sense to burden people during a move with the concept of oh, wait a second, you didn't fill out your TPS reports, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, Lady Red said, hey, could it possibly make the move easier if people kind of divided into groups? And I sort of shot it down and said, it seems like we'd have to make a bunch of decisions and coordinate stuff. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I mean, maybe
We're already dividing into groups. Like Ryan and I collaborated to make that form. Assemble the Armada.
That was so well done. I asked him like, this is amazing. And then he said that you contributed a bunch. So making it fun, having cool terminology, people are joining something, really cool. It's important.
Right. Yeah. It's not like you're helping your friend move and you might get some pizza at the end of the day. It's like, we're building Noisebridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and even helping your friend move is also fun, but this is bigger.
Yeah.
More meaningful.
Join.
But no, yeah, people are already separating into groups. Like, but I don't know whether those particular groups will cohere in a way that will make sense in the aftermath. Like, for instance, during the reboot, I brought together the group of people who were going to work on the flooring. I didn't know anything about flooring, but I was happy to learn. And I brought in a person who actually couldn't operate any of the machines because his back was just like crap at that point in his life. But he knew how to redo the floor, so he would come in and kind of like oversee everything. And then like we all hung out and did the thing. It was great. But in the aftermath of like actually getting the flooring done and rebuilding Noisebridge, like there's no flooring guild to speak of, right? There's that.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily carry over. So
I see. So there's more like ephemeral crews, that's kind of different.
Right. Right. But we shouldn't overlook the fact that people will for sure, as a result of the move and as a result of what is hopefully going to be, a proactive management in terms of using those lists that we're cobbling together and putting people into those little tribes. We shouldn't overlook or underestimate the fact that people will have these sorts of like coming together moments where they will forge bonds in the course of doing this work together. So, yeah. So if actually the only thing that we do is we make sure to leverage the good feels that people are having and just say like, doesn't it feel good to work together on a thing? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, doesn't this feel nice? Like, let's do more like that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
If that's all we do is just like leverage that good feels, like we might actually do something really great.
That sounds great. And then, hey, we work together really well. You want to join my guild over here? If you and I have a couple kind of planned next steps where,
yeah.
Where we're getting Noisebridge members to join our in our sales funnel where we can.
Yeah, right. That cake full of snake oil.
Give the
degrees.
Yeah. The meta, the snake oil lathered meta guild.
Oh yeah.
Sales funnel.
Yeah. Certified placebos.
I guess these are pretty cool fake ads that we make. Are you the one that mentioned like, hey, Noisebridge needs ads and we can have some cool kind of memes and stuff like along the side?
I don't think that was me. So whoever that was, good on them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, but cool. But okay, this sounds good. And one, I'll finish typing out the couple action steps here. I think one good place to pick up next time, and we'll see how we feel or whatever, or if there's other ideas that come about or other topics, that's fine. But as I just sent to you in Slack, bolded, I asked the question: how can we integrate ideas similar to kind of what you did with Assemble the Armada and this like exciting thing, and think of specific additional ways to apply that to guilds, just making it more, whatever fun. And then action step wise, I'll talk to James a little bit more and see if he knows like, oh yeah, there is a way to add, more icons next to someone's name, or here's the easiest ways to do that, or something like that. I suspect that would be the lowest hanging fruit, software wise.
Yeah.
To integrate badges.
Totally. Yeah. Yep. Sounds like a plan. I also like that we're not being tremendously ambitious with executive functioning type of stuff at the moment.
Yeah. No, like these are practical steps. They don't require a bunch of time. So yeah, if we think more in terms of rapid iteration rather than, how do we have each step be as large as possible and theoretically make more progress, and then not actually do that step, or it's too hard to find the time or whatever.
Right.
I'm comfortable with that, and if there's other additional stuff I want to spin up, then or that you want to spin up or whatever, we can always do that in other context if it doesn't make sense here. I'll probably think a little bit more about the interhack, the world, the first trustworthy kind of cloud, or providing some basic thing, or there's Black Lives Matter activists that need more trustworthy infrastructure. I mean, there's clear needs for some of these things. Some
Right.
of it's basic, some of it's more elaborate. But I'll think about those dynamics some more. Maybe if I have more insights than or something that's complementary to the meat space stuff that we're doing. Even though although our stuff is kind of a bridging the two. But anyway, cool, awesome, Naomi. I enjoyed this a lot. This is probably top 5 all time at Noisebridge interactions and events for me. So these are great ideas and cool things we can act upon, and action steps as a concept that is brought into a discussion. I like it.
Yeah. No, this feels good. I think that there are a lot of parallel channels kind of forming at the same time, like the pure swirly metamodernism exploration happening, the workshop setting that we're developing here, and then Mark is passionate about being the meta guild arch guild master, and really wants to see that through. James really wants to see the discourse. God, I always get these confused. See that become a much more valid tool for us. And the move is gonna cause a lot of emergent social systems as well, and we just have to be prepared to see them. So yeah,
cool. Sounds very practical. And learn from experience there, and then I'm sure you can guys, but from the Graves model, here's a more efficient way to to do the guild here, or do the move. You guys are being such blue idiots right now. What?
Well, yeah, I don't want to talk to people like that, but No.
I didn't mean, I was exaggerating, but
Yeah, I don't feel insulted. I'm just getting tired. I'm just oh man, yeah, no, that invites more conversation, and I think I'm just kind of done.
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, I should eat anyway. But cool, right. Awesome stuff. I'll see you on Slack.
Good night.
And then good night. And if you want to, if there's I don't know what the permissions are on your channel, or if you want to throw an unlisted video link or something into, I guess we probably have 2 or 3.
It's all open and public. I've actually just been labeling them Noisebridge Philosophy Guild Workshop.
Okay.
And
on your channel, or?
On my channel, because that's what I have the API key to.
Yeah, great. I just asked.
And there is a Noisebridge, or I'm creating a playlist. Actually, as we speak, I'm tinkering with the YouTube stuff.
Cool.
There's a playlist that says Noisebridge Philosophy Guild Workshop. So that way you can run them in order,
Yeah. Great. Smart. Easy.
I guess. Simple. I don't know who's going to want to plow through hours and hours of rambling, but
whoever's watching this sure does. Or I mean, not,
hi guys.
Our stuff is way more structured than.
Let me know if you actually watched this far.
and
Whoever you are.
100% of those people who say that will say yes.
Yeah, it's probably going to
By
be me.
definition.
This is like me in the future going like, oh, hey.
Right. Cool.
All right. Cool.
Oh, okay. But can you can you link me to your to
Yeah.
like the playlist or something? That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Easy. All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Night.
Peace.
Bye.
Good night, Naomi.